Billionaire tests waiter, freezing moment when she reveals shocking truth at 3 a.m., in the heart of New York City, just before dawn, secret simmered like the hot coffee steaming in front of Clara. That night, the clock ticked in a sinister way, racing toward the witching hour. She had expected a regular shift at the Velvet Spoon, a swanky spot filled with the elite and wealthy. But when the enigmatic billionaire, Victor Blackwood, entered the room, everything shifted. The air grew thicker, and the usual clinks of glasses faded into a hushed murmur. Every eye turned towards him, capturing the attention of the patrons who whispered in excited and fearful tones. It was as if electricity pulsed through the room, creating an almost tangible tension. Clara's heart raced. She couldn't deny the intensity of their gazes, drawn to Victor's presence like moths to a flame. Rumors swirled about him: dark deals, mysterious pasts, and riches amassed in shadowy ways. Nobody dared to approach him other than the bravest of waitstaff, and Clara felt a thrill, mixed with dread, at the thought of serving such a powerful man. At 3 a.m., the restaurant was eerily quiet, but the gleam in Victor's eye promised chaos. Then it happened. As Clara approached his table, an unsettling chill crept up her spine. Victor leaned closer, his voice a low growl, cutting through the silence. "Tell me, what's your biggest secret?" The question hung, dangling dangerously in the air. Her hands trembled as the pressure mounted. The door to the back swung open slightly, draining the light from the room and amplifying the suffocating tension. Did he know something? The fidgety crowd watched, breathless, as Clara's chest felt tight. She had to say something, anything, but the room had shrunk, closing her in. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." Clara took a sharp breath, frozen at the edge of truth and terror. With a pounding heart, she opened her mouth, only to find silence. The moment stretched, every second feeling like an eternity. Outside, the wind howled like a wild beast as shadows danced among the flickering lights. What could she say that would satisfy such a powerful man? Did she dare to reveal the truth hidden in the deepest corners of her mind? The eyes of her coworkers bore down on her, filled with an odd mixture of encouragement and fear. Just then, Victor's patience waned visibly, his lips curling into a dangerous grin. "You're all out of time, dear waitress. What have you got for me?" His words hit hard like a punch, and Clara felt the weight of a decision resting on her shoulders. What shocking truth was she holding on to? As the clock struck 3, the answer hung, tantalizing and terrifying. Would she confess? Or would this moment seal a fate she couldn't foresee? Clara's breath caught in her throat. Victor's penetrating gaze felt like a spotlight, revealing the darkest corners of her soul. She could hear the soft murmur of the patrons behind her, their collective curiosity a palpable force pressing against her back. The weight of their eyes, full of expectation and judgment, made the heat rise in her cheeks. What was she supposed to say? Her secret danced just out of reach, wrapped in layers of shame and fear. She had always promised herself she'd never reveal it. But here, under the stern gaze of Victor Blackwood, everything felt different, alive and dangerous. "Come on, Clara," Victor urged, a hint of impatience creeping into his tone. "I'm not a patient man." His words sliced through the air. The lingering silence was deafening, almost mocking. The clock ticked, each second like a countdown to an impending explosion. Clara felt the heat of shame crawl up her neck, and with a shaky exhale, the dam inside her began to crack. "Fine." She burst out, the word escaping her lips like a defiant scream. The room fell completely silent, every eye locked onto her. "You want a secret? Here it is." Victor leaned back, intrigued, a smirk dancing on his lips. His confidence was unnerving, and yet Clara couldn't look away. I used to work for your father, she blurted out, almost not believing she had said it. I was part of the team that helped him manage his investments, and that wasn't just some regular account. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Clara could hear the collective shock ripple as the truth unfurled like a dark banner. She felt a rush of adrenaline mixed with panic. Victor's interest sharpened. She had thrown him a curveball, but she had no clue how he'd react. The company went under, and I didn't know how to tell you. Her voice steadied as she continued, desperation flowing into her honesty. Your father was devastated. He lost everything. I thought it would be better to just disappear, but I had no idea it would come back to haunt me. Victor's expression darkened, and for a moment, the animated crowd faded away, leaving just the two of them. She could see the emotion flickering behind his eyes: anger, betrayal, and disbelief. How do you know this? How do I know you aren't lying? His voice was low, almost a growl, simmering with fury. I have proof. Clara exclaimed, desperation seeping into her voice. Bank statements, emails, I can show you. Please, just give me a chance. A heavy silence engulfed the room. The clock ticked on, mocking them both. Clara felt her heart hammering, the weight of her revelation pressing down like a vice. She had given him the ammunition he needed to shatter her life, and he was only a heartbeat away from doing just that. Suddenly, Victor stood, towering before her like a shadow. There was something primal in his stance, like a predator cornering its prey. You think this is over? You have no idea what you've just stirred up. I will find that proof, and we will see who's telling the truth. His voice resonated with dark promise before he turned sharply, striding purposefully away from the table. Panic gripped Clara as Victor left the scene, her co-workers whispering in hushed tones around her. She felt the disdain rising from the crowd, and the adrenaline faded, replaced by gut-wrenching fear. As Victor's presence lingered like smoke in her mind, she knew one thing: this was just the beginning. There was a storm brewing, one that could drag her under. With her heart in her throat, she realized she had opened a door that couldn't be closed. But what shadows lay waiting beyond that door? Clara could only wonder, even as she felt the cold sweat trickle down her spine. Clara's legs felt like lead as she sat back down, the eyes of the crowd still piercing through her, heavy with judgment and disbelief. The whispering voices buzzed in her ears, a cacophony of opinions swirling around her like a tempest. Could she really trust herself? Did she really just say that? Someone murmured nearby. I can't believe she worked for the Blackwoods. Clara squeezed her eyes shut for a moment, wishing she could disappear altogether. The weight of her heartache felt almost tangible, wrapped around her like an iron chain. If only she could rewind the clock, take back those words. But it was too late. The truth had been thrust into the bright light of day, and now it was out there, with Victor on the hunt for proof. Her thoughts were racing. What if he found those emails? What if he managed to twist her words, turn them against her? Clara was no stranger to the meanness of the world. She had seen the wreckage of her past unfold in front of her 1,000 times, and each time she had turned away, turned into the shadows, aiming to remain invisible. But now, visibility was inevitable. She needed a plan. Catching movement from the corner of her eye, she looked up. Victor had returned to the space, and not alone. He was flanked by a couple of friends, all with their own expressions of curiosity, amusement, and something darker: predatory. Clara! He barked, his voice slicing through the chatter. I want you to meet my associates. She could see them sizing her up, dismissive grins plastered on their faces. One, a tall man with slicked back hair, leaned in closer. So you're the infamous investment whiz who ran for the hills? He taunted, clearly enjoying her discomfort. What a reputation you've carved out for yourself. Something deep within Clara ignited. How dare they? They were reveling in her pain, and she wasn't going to let them see her bow down. I didn't run anywhere, she said, her voice steadying. I protected myself. Nothing more, nothing less. Victor's smirk faded for a moment, measuring her defiance. That's interesting because it sounds like you're hiding something even bigger. Isn't that right? He leaned closer, his eyes narrowing. And what else have you kept from me, Clara? The room felt stifling as her heart raced again, the shadows of her secret creeping up on her. She couldn't risk being unguarded. Panic coursed through her veins. She thought of the file she had tucked away in her apartment, tucked beneath clutter as a reminder of failures she'd rather forget. But it also held the evidence, the emails, and everything Victor might want to know. Trying to intimidate me won't work, Clara shot back. I didn't plan your father's downfall. It just happened. Did it? Victor shot back, incredulous. Or are you just part of a much bigger game? The momentum of the room shifted, their whispers growing louder, like a tide rising. Clara's fingers trembled around the edge of her glass. She needed to escape and regroup, to formulate a plan. But the growling thunder of tension held her captive, a noose sealing tight around her neck. As Victor took a step closer, the chill in his demeanor striking sharper than before, Clara knew she had a choice to make. If she didn't fight back, she could lose everything. But how far would she go? Would she reveal the extent of her truth, or would she bury it deeper, trying to maintain her fragile life? The battle was on, but as she looked into Victor's dark eyes, she realized this was not just a fight for her own redemption, it was a fight against a grave threat. In that moment, the icy air between them crackled with tension. You think you've seen darkness, Clara? This is just the beginning, he murmured, leaving her with chilling finality. The storm was only gathering strength, and she was standing right in its path. What had she woken in Victor? The question lingered like a shadow across her thoughts as she prepared for the truth that was bound to surface, one way or another. Clara felt her breath hitch, her pulse thrumming in her ears. She couldn't shake the feeling that the ground beneath her was shifting, ready to swallow her whole. Victor's gaze bore into her, a predator assessing its prey. The crowd, once a backdrop, now closed in around her, their faces a blur of judgment and expectation. All this talk of big games, Jonathan, Victor's voice was chilling as he gestured to his friends. What happens when someone plays their hand too boldly? Clara swallowed hard. The shadows danced in their eyes, secrets and threats mingling and swirling in the air like smoke. She could taste the bitterness on her tongue, the remnants of her resolve slowly crumbling. I want to let you manipulate this situation, she managed to say, taking a step back to regain her balance. But inside, she felt the tendrils of despair wrapping tighter. You don't know the first thing about me. Maybe we should find out, then. Victor stepped closer, his voice low, predatory. You're a loose end, Clara. And we have a way of tying up loose ends. The hostile energy in the room thickened, prickling her skin. She glanced around, risking a look at the others who had retreated into their hushed conversations, eyes darting between her and Victor. She was the center of a storm, and she felt exposed. An icy shiver ran down her spine as the noise faded into an eerie silence, amplifying Victor's looming threat. What do you want from me? She asked, fighting to keep her trembling voice steady. For starters, he said, a cruel smile spreading across his face, I want the truth. She hesitated, her heart pounding. What truth? Would revealing everything be the very thing that destroyed her, or would it finally free her? But just as the thought flickered in her mind, a voice broke through the tension. Victor, Anton, the slick-haired man, interjected. Let us not scare her away. She might have more to offer than you think. Victor straightened, his amusement returning. You really think she does? The woman buried under her own secrets? The room felt like quicksand, the walls closing in tight. Clara had to act, the weight of their scrutiny was suffocating. You think you've got me figured out? She shot back, drawing strength from the pit of fear. You don't know the half of it. A moment passed, suspended in that charged air. The crowd was silent, and for a heartbeat, she saw uncertainty flash across Victor's face. Then he threw back his head, laughing, that sound curling like smoke around her. Scared of the truth? Don't be. I find it intriguing. No more time to think. Clara's instinct screamed at her to escape. She turned on her heel, weaving through the cluster of people, their eyes boring into her back. Heart racing, She pushed through the crowd, desperate for fresh air, gasping against the weight of their stares. Outside, the night was cold and sharp, the sharpness of the wind stinging against her cheeks. She fumbled for her phone, the memory of the file weighing heavily on her mind. It felt like a million miles away, but she couldn't let it slip further into darkness. Inside her apartment, an unease filled her. The emails were buried deep beneath the other clutter, a monument to her regrets. If Victor found them, the thought terrorized her. She needed a plan, a shield against this escalating war. But as she scrambled toward the pile on her desk, her phone buzzed violently in her pocket. The screen lit up, a notification flashing ominously. Victor Lentz wants to connect. Clara took a step back, chills running down her spine. This was no ordinary request, it was a direct challenge. Desperation flooded her senses. How had he found her so fast? What game were they playing now? As she stared at the screen, the air thick with tension and uncertainty, she realized she was inches away from being pulled back into the depths, a place she thought she had escaped. Could she outsmart him this time? Or was she already too late? The question loomed large, hovering just out of reach as the world around her twisted in uncertainty, causing the ground beneath her feet to tremble. The stakes had never felt higher. Clara knew the storm had only begun, and she braced herself for the inevitable confrontation. How much longer could she hold on before the truth clawed its way out? Clara's heart raced as she hovered over her phone, the light from the screen illuminating her pale face. The idea of accepting Victor's request felt like opening the door to a lioness den. But ignoring it could mean losing the only edge she had left. She was backed into a corner, and desperation clawed at her insides. Taking a deep breath, she swiped her finger across the screen. The moment she hit accept, a surge of dread washed over her. What was he planning? Every instinct told her to brace for something chaotic, something that could unravel everything. Clara, Victor's voice came through, rich and smooth. Glad you decided to join the conversation. I have questions. Like I have answers for you, she muttered under her breath, gripping the phone tighter as if it would grant her strength. Let us start simple, he said, his tone laced with amusement. What are you really hiding? The air around her thickened. She tightened her jaw, reluctant to reveal anything but knowing that silence could be just as dangerous. Clara could almost hear the laughter of the crowd back at the event, their whispers a haunting reminder of the spotlight on her. What do you want from me? She pushed back, clutching onto her fear like a safety net. You don't think I'd hand over my life's secrets just because you asked nicely, do you? His laughter was low, sending shivers down her spine. Oh, Clara. This is all a game, and you're desperately underestimating your role. How many people have you wronged, betrayed for your gain? A lump formed in her throat. Her mind raced through memories, mistakes, and regrets. I don't owe you anything. But you do, he continued, his voice dropping to a near whisper. Because, my dear, your secrets are precisely how you'll stay safe. Let's say someone were to uncover those little emails you've tucked away. Would that be a shame? She could feel the walls of her apartment closing in, tightening like a vice. You wouldn't dare. I know you're not the monster you pretend to be. Victor's response was sharp and cutting. What do you think I am, Clara? I'm the one holding all the cards. Just remember, if you don't play nice, there are consequences, and I know exactly where to look for any skeletons in your closet. The air was thick with an unspoken ultimatum. Clara felt her world tilt on its axis. She knew there were things hidden deep inside her past, things that could drag her into turmoil if Victor stumbled upon them. His threats piled like stones on her chest, each one heavier than the last. This is a warning, Clara, he continued, sensing her vulnerability. You either cooperate, or this game becomes a nightmare. She fought against the panic clawing at her throat, the ice running through her veins. You think you can scare me? You think I'll buckle under pressure? You're wrong. Prove it. The challenge lingered, taunting her. A nerve snapped within Clara, the tension flaring into something explosive. The truth was, she was on borrowed time, and each second that passed assured Victor was closing in on her. But she wouldn't let him see her break. Fine, she whispered, choosing her words cautiously. I'll play your little game. But just remember, if you dig deep enough, you might not like what you uncover. Now that the spirit Victor's voice dripped with amusement, yet tinged with something more sinister. Let us see just how far you're willing to go to protect those secrets. With that, he ended the call, leaving Clara alone in the dark silence. Fear coursed through her, mingling with sparks of rebellion. She needed to take control before he turned one of her secrets into a weapon. Her eyes darted to the clutter on her desk where the emails lay, a fiery determination igniting within her. She had to act quickly and smartly. She moved to the clutter, heart pounding, as she sensed that Victor would not stop until he had what he wanted. What other traps had Victor lain, waiting to ensnare her? And just how far would she have to go to dismantle the power he held over her? The gnawing uncertainty wrapped around her like chains, tightening with every passing moment. Clara glanced at her phone again, the shadows of her past clawing at her heels. Determined, she realized the gloves were off. She had to be ready. The final move was yet to come, and it was up to her to turn the tide before it was too late. But the next move had to be calculated, unlike anything she'd done before, and as she prepared for the confrontation looming just ahead, the question hung in the air: what lengths was Clara willing to go to keep her truth from crashing down around her? Clara's mind raced as she rifled through the piles of papers scattered across her desk. Each email felt like a ticking time bomb, ready to explode and reveal all her misdeeds if Victor decided to push. She could almost hear the roaring laughter of her past mistakes mirrored in the silence of her apartment. Panic surged within her. If she didn't act, Victor would take control of the game. Think, Clara, think, she whispered to herself, pacing back and forth. Her heart thundered, nerves fraying at the edges. She grabbed the first stack, flipping through the pages, desperately scanning for anything that could give her leverage. What did she really want? Her fingers trembled as she uncovered an old email, a shady deal from years ago that could bring her down. But could it be turned into a weapon against Victor? Suddenly, the sudden buzz of her phone shattered her focus. Clara froze, staring at the display as if it were a venomous snake ready to strike. Victor's name glowed ominously. Every instinct screamed to ignore it, but the thought of what he might do if she left him hanging spurred her forward. With shaky fingers, she accepted the call, bracing herself for the confrontation. Clara. His voice was smooth, oozing with confidence. I had a feeling you'd be tempted to dig. Tell me, what have you found? Nothing you'd be interested in, she shot back, her tone sharper than ice. If he wanted a game, she could play too. If this is going to be a battle of secrets, I'm not playing offense just yet. Victor chuckled, the sound dark and disturbing like thunder rumbling in the distance. Oh, Clara, it would be a shame if your hard work went to waste. You know I'm always one step ahead. The longer you deny me what I want, the greater the consequences. The threat simmered in the air between them like a fume. You think you intimidate me? I've faced worse than you, she spat, channeling her fear into anger. But the truth gnawed deep inside her. She had no idea just how far Victor would go. What's that old saying? He mused, his tone unsettlingly calm. The higher you rise, the harder you fall. I happen to know when you're close to your peak, Clara. And you're alarmingly close. She felt the walls closing in, the shadows of her past looming like specters. Stay away from my emails, Victor. You don't know what you're provoking. Ah, but I do know. That's the beauty of this dance, isn't it? He paused, the silence growing heavier. The depths of your deceit will make this quite thrilling. The walls of her apartment felt like they were closing in. She needed to dig deeper into her past and find something, anything that could shift the balance back in her favor. Instead of cowering, she would take that risk. This isn't just a game, Victor. This is my life, she declared, her voice steady now, each word laced with defiance. If you think you can win, you're deluded. Victor's laughter filled the air, low and mocking. Deluded? Oh no, sweet Clara. I see the endless possibilities. With that, he hung up, leaving her breathless in the silence that followed. A wave of adrenaline surged through her veins, the shadow of her secrets loomed larger than ever. But within that impending dread, a spark ignited a flicker of hope. Clara took a moment to catch her breath, strategizing, determination hardening within her. She needed an ally. Someone she could trust, but trust felt so far from her reach now. Who could withstand the tempest that was Victor? The clock ticked ominously, every second bleeding into the next, every moment precious. Would revealing her past keep her from collapse? She grabbed her laptop, her fingers flying across the keyboard as a plan began to form. She would gather her allies, she would reveal her truths on her own terms, before Victor could. As the screen lit up her anxious face, Clara felt the fight rise within her. But was she strong enough to confront the truth lurking behind the doors she was about to open? A sudden knock on her apartment door shattered her thoughts. Who could it be at this hour? Her heart pounded as she approached the door. Uncertainty pooling in her gut. Had Victor sent someone after her? Who stood outside, waiting to cast more shadows on her already tangled life? Clara hesitated before the door, her heart thumping wildly against her ribs. Just the thought of Victor's reach sent chills racing down her spine. The knock came again, more insistent this time, an urgent summons that felt more like a threat than a plea. "Who is it?" she called out, her voice shaky but determined. "It's me, Alex," came the muffled reply, and she felt a flicker of relief. Alex had been a friend since college, a steadfast anchor when life threatened to sweep her away. But could he still be trusted amid the wreckage of her life? She opened the door with a cautious smile, but the moment her eyes met his, that smile fell. Alex's face was pale, the nervous energy radiating off him was palpable. "I was worried about you," he said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "I heard you were in trouble with him." "You didn't have to come," Clara managed, her voice shaking. "I'm handling it." "Handling it?" he echoed, disbelief etched across his features. "Do you really think you can take on Victor?" "He's dangerous, Clara." Panic surged once more, tangling itself with determination. "I know what he wants. I just need to get the upper hand." Clara broke off, her thoughts wrestling against her conscience. Did she really trust Alex? "Listen, I have something important to share." Alex's brow furrowed. "What is it?" "You look like a ghost." Clara sighed, feeling the weight of her secrets pressing down. "I've been digging through my old emails and I found something. Something that allows me to play back." His curiosity shifted to concern. "What are you talking about?" "Remember that deal I mentioned years ago? The one that could ruin me?" Alex blinked, fear creeping into his eyes. "That's the one Victor has his sights on. You can't be serious about using that against him, Clara. It's like throwing yourself into a lioness den." "I don't have a choice." The only way to turn the tables is with suddenly. Clara's phone buzzed violently on the table, and they both jumped. It was a message from Victor, words like cold steel slicing through her moment of clarity. "I would tread carefully if I were you, Clara. The game is afoot." A chill swept through her veins. She turned her gaze back to Alex, heart racing. "He knows I'm fighting back. He's playing with you," Alex said, his voice shaking now. "You need to be smart about this." "You can't." Clara cut him off, the anger bursting forth. "You think I don't know that? I can't let him win. I have too much at stake." "Think about it," Alex replied, frustration boiling over. "You're treading a dangerous path. What if you push him too far? It could end badly." Silence fell between them, thick with unspoken fears. Clara felt every heartbeat pulse through her body, but deep down, recklessness mingled with growing resolve. "Maybe that's exactly what I need." Without warning, the lights flickered, casting eerie shadows across the room. Alex glanced nervously at the front window. "What was that?" "Just the power grid," Clara whispered, but she felt a prickle at the base of her neck. The storm outside raged on, and Clara's mind whirled with the idea that she'd unwittingly opened a door to deeper trouble. As she gripped her laptop, eyes darting around the room, a plan ignited in her mind. We need to gather everything we can. I'm going to confront him. Alex's voice was tense. Are you sure? We might be walking into a trap. Does it matter? She snapped. I won't let fear stop me now. She felt alive, a jolt of urgency rushing through her as she prepared for the fight ahead. We need to move fast. But a dull noise, a thud, echoed from the other side of the door, undeniably ominous. Clara's heart lurched. Did you hear that? She whispered, eyes wide. It's probably nothing, Alex said, but the worry etched on his face betrayed him. Clara bit her lip, feeling the darkness close in around them. Would facing her past entrap them both in Victor's web? Or everything, she murmured, more to herself than him. And with that, she knew they were stepping onto ground neither of them fully understood. The stakes were rising, and the air crackled with tension. Another knock echoed through the apartment, louder this time, like a death toll. With her heart in her throat, Clara held her breath, uncertain of what awaited them on the other side. Who had come to challenge her resolve this time? And could they afford to uncover any more secrets she had yet to share? Clara swallowed hard, every instinct screaming for her to retreat. The room felt smaller, the walls creeping in like the storm outside. She glanced at Alex, whose eyes darted toward the door, his body tense as if ready to spring. Should we hide? He whispered, his voice laced with urgency. No, we can't show fear, she said, though her heart pounded in counterpoint to her steely resolve. We need to face this. Each second stretched into eternity as the silence hummed with anticipation. Finally, she mustered enough courage and reached for the doorknob. The sudden crack of the door opening eased the pressure, revealing a figure silhouetted against the hallway light. The makeshift barricade of her fears rolled back, replaced by the familiar, yet unsettling, presence of Victor himself. Came to check on my favorite client, did I? His voice dripped with sarcasm, and his smile felt like ice. I heard there was some commotion over here. Thought I'd drop by. Go away, Victor, Clara said, her resolve hardening like steel in the face of his mocking demeanor. You have no right to be here. Oh, but I do, he countered, stepping into the room with an unsettling confidence. I have all the rights in the world, Clara. You're playing with fire, and I remind you, I was born in it. Alex stepped slightly in front of her, a barrier ripe with protective instinct. If you think you can intimidate her, Victor laughed, a low, chilling sound that cut through the air like a knife. Ah, the brave knight trying to protect the damsel. It's adorable, really. But Clara knows the game. Don't you? Clara's heart raced, his words struck like arrows, piercing her thoughts. She had to secure her own power, but could she still do that with him standing right in front of her, so effortlessly in control? Leave us alone. She managed to say, her voice firmer than she felt. Victor tilted his head, clearly amused. You seem awfully confident, given the circumstances. But let me remind you, you're on thin ice. I've seen the emails. I know your every move. Clara froze, blood draining from her face. What do you mean? Oh, you thought your little sleuthing would catch me off guard? His devious grin widened. I'm always 2 steps ahead, sweetheart. Every email, every plan you formed. I'm privy to all of it. Alex's face darkened, and he stepped forward again. You're just trying to scare her. You don't have any real power here. Power? Oh, Alex, you naive fool. Power is an illusion, and Clara here is dancing with the devil. Victor waved a hand dismissively and turned his attention back to Clara. You think you can outplay me? You're treading into waters far deeper than you know. Why don't you back off? I want to let you bully me. Clara snapped, fueled by a mix of anger and resolve. Ah, but it's not about bullying, dear. It's a game, and I love games, he said, his voice lower now, more sinister. What I wouldn't give to see how far you're willing to go to win. Before she could respond, another thud resonated from the hallway, this time sounding distinctly like something heavy being dropped. The tension escalated, every fiber in Clara's being screaming for her to flee. Her mind raced. Was there someone else out there? Or was this part of Victor's ploy? Stay put, Victor commanded, his eyes glimmering with a predatory excitement as he picked up on her trepidation. What if you... Alex began, but Clara grabbed his arm. Let me think, she whispered, her mind racing with possibilities, revelations crashing over her like the waves outside. How much danger were they really in? Victor took a step closer, his eyes piercing. Time's running out, Clara. But don't worry. I promise to make this unforgettable. A new wave of panic washed over her. Could the walls really be closing in from both sides? As Victor's presence loomed, an unsettling thought crossed her mind. What specific game was he plotting next, and how could she possibly stay one step ahead this time? Who's there? Clara called, her voice cracking, unsure if the thump was real or just her overactive imagination. But with each second ticking by, she couldn't shake the line that Victor had casually crossed. The stakes were higher than ever, danger lurking, and the room filled with a loaded silence as she braced herself for whatever came next. What was lurking in the shadows? And would it emerge to challenge her determination, or would it merely be the harbinger of doom? Clara's heart raced as the silence thickened, every breath feeling like it could shatter the moment. She glanced at Alex, his jaw set in determination, eyes cold and steely, but doubt flickered behind them. What if Victor really was 2 steps ahead? Thoughts raced through her mind like a storm, each one more dangerous than the last. Clara, just breathe, Alex murmured, still positioned protectively in front of her. But her breaths turned shallow as Victor leaned closer, that cruel smile still painted across his face. Who's there? She called again, her voice more steady this time, laced with a surprising authority. Victor chuckled, an eerie sound that sent shivers down her spine. What's the matter? Afraid of the dark? He gestured toward the door, where shadows flickered and danced just beyond the threshold. Maybe you should be more concerned about what's on the other side. With that, a faint scraping sound emerged from the hallway, rising in intensity as if something, or someone, was inching ever closer. Clara's pulse quickened. What do you want? She demanded, pushing back her fear, digging deep for courage that felt almost ethereal. Sweetheart, I'm here for the show, Victor replied, his voice now a low hiss. And trust me, the finale is going to be spectacular. Suddenly, the door swung open wider, and a tall silhouette darkened the entrance. The two figures blurred at first, but then Clara recognized the tall frame and tousled hair of a man she knew all too well. Ricky? She gasped, her breath catching in her throat. Confusion and relief crashed into one another. Surprise. Did you miss me? He called out, stepping forward into the room. But his face dropped as he took in the tension, the electric atmosphere that filled the air. What is going on here? Clara's mind whirled. Was it possible Ricky had come to help? Or was he merely another pawn in Victor's twisted game? She opened her mouth to explain, but Victor cut her off. Oh, just a little reunion, Victor said smoothly, amusement dancing in his eyes. Fancy seeing a knight in shining armor swoop in. But I wouldn't get too cozy. The smile on his lips faded slightly, replaced by a menacing glare. This isn't the time to play hero. Ricky's posture shifted as he sensed the threat radiating from Victor. You should leave her alone, Victor. I don't know what you're after, but I want to let you hurt her again. Again? Clara's stomach twisted at the implication. What past connection did they share? Was Ricky caught in the crossfire without her knowledge? Victor brushed Ricky off as if he were nothing more than an annoying insect. You think you can protect her? He taunted. She chose to play this game, and now he stepped closer to Clara, his face only inches from hers. She'll face the consequences. I'll face them on my own terms, Clara snapped back, feeling emboldened. You're not going to dictate how this ends. But just as the tension in the room sparked, a loud crash resonated from the hallway, making everyone jump. It was a heavy sound, one that suggested something dangerous had just made an entrance. Clara felt her chest tighten as shadows shifted in the dim light. Whatever's happening out there is going to make its way in here, Ricky warned, glancing nervously toward the door. We need to leave. Now. Victor's eyes hardened, and Clara realized time was slipping through her fingers. Panic clawed at her throat as uncertainty reigned. Could they escape the storm brewing both around and inside the house? Run, she whispered to Alex and Ricky, but even as she spoke, the pressure in the room intensified, heavy as the storm outside. Clara, wait, Ricky began, but she had other plans. She wouldn't let fear dictate her actions any longer. With one last look at the door and an unyielding resolve, she pushed past them, ready to face whatever lurked in the shadows. Would she find a way out, or was stepping into the unknown only pulling her deeper into Victor's twisted web? The moment she reached the threshold, she stopped, breathless, as darkness loomed threateningly beyond the door. Would she have the courage to step forward, or would she be trapped forever in a game that seemed impossible to win? Clara's heart thundered as she stood at the threshold, the darkness beyond seeping into her soul. She couldn't turn back now. The presence of Victor loomed behind her, a constant reminder of the predatory stakes they were playing for. She had to make a choice. Let us go. Ricky shouted, urgency in his voice, but Clara held her ground. The weight of her past collided with the fierce determination swelling in her chest. She turned and faced Victor, fire igniting in her eyes. You think I'll cower and let you run my life? Not anymore. Victor narrowed his gaze, a flicker of surprise crossing his features. Oh, how brave. But brave doesn't mean smart. You're treading in deep waters. His voice oozed with arrogance, but Clara felt a surge of power cradled in her uncertainty. With a deep breath, Clara stepped out into the hall, the shadow swallowing her whole. The uncertainty whispered behind her, but she'd rather face the darkness than let Victor intimidate her. I can handle whatever's out there. She yelled, clenching her fists at her sides. Alex and Ricky shared a glance full of concern, ready to follow, but Clara pressed on ahead, feeling the intensity of the moment propelling her. The hallway felt longer, stretching and twisting as uncertainty hung in the air like a thick fog. Each creak of the floorboards underfoot echoed her fears, yet she remained resolute. This is where we find out who's really in control, she said with renewed vigor. I'll never let you play me again, Victor. With that declaration, Clara pushed forward, the weight of her truth guiding her like a compass. She needed to confront all the shadows lurking, not just Victor, but the demons inside her. Each step felt heavy, yet somehow liberated her from the binds of her past. Suddenly, a loud crash rang out, and Clara turned to see the door behind her slam shut. Panic gripped her heart. What was that? She gasped, fear creeping into her voice. Something's coming. Ricky shouted. And just that quick, the shadows converged, coiling around the doorway like a dark serpent ready to strike. Before she could react, the door shattered, shards flying as a hulking figure barreled into the room. It was Victor's associate, Anton, his menacing presence threatening to engulf them. Time's up, Clara, he snarled, a malicious grin spreading across his face. Game over. In that moment of chaos, Clara felt a rush of adrenaline. She would not let him intimidate her. You're wrong, she shouted, her voice steadying as she inched toward the shadows. This is just the beginning. As Anton lunged, Clara ducked low, narrowly escaping his grasp. Ricky. Alex. We need to work together. She yelled, rallying her friends. They had to fight back before it was too late. Get back. Ricky charged forward, tackling Anton to the ground. Chaos erupted in the narrow hallway as Clara and Alex joined the fray, battling against the embodiment of Victor's power. Clara's breath came in ragged gasps as she landed blows instinctively. Anger surged in her veins. This was her chance to reclaim her life. Each punch felt like a strike against every moment of fear Victor had thrust upon her. Enough. Victor's voice boomed from the shadows, causing the scuffle to halt. He emerged from the darkness, eyes blazing with fury. You're playing a dangerous game, Clara. Maybe I am, she shot back, her heart racing. But it's my game now. A tense silence filled the air. Clara stood tall, meeting Victor's gaze head-on. She would not back down. You think you know my secrets, but you have no idea what I'm capable of. Victor narrowed his eyes, calculating. How far are you willing to go to protect that truth? Clara swallowed hard. As far as it takes. With that, she felt a power wash over her, the flames of determination blazing in her eyes. This was her moment to stand firm, to confront not just Victor, but everything he represented. In that instant, the ground shifted beneath them. Clara felt a weight lift, releasing every burden she had carried for so long. No longer was she the terrified waitress stuck in Victor's web, she was a force to be reckoned with. I will reveal all my truths, Victor. On my terms, she declared, her defiance reviving her spirit. And you will see, the shadows you hide in are no match for the light I'm bringing. A small, triumphant smile cracked her lips, sending ripples of shock through the room. The tension in the air shifted, altering the course of their confrontation. Victor's expression morphed from anger to begrudging respect. You think you're brave. He laughed darkly. Let us see how this game unfolds. In that final moment, Clara felt free. She had taken control, seizing her fate from the jaws of darkness. The air crackled with new possibilities, and she knew, no matter what came next, she was ready. Now, the real game had begun. And she was going to win. Don't miss out on the next thrilling chapter of Clara's journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and keep the stories rolling. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Clara's fate. We want to hear what you think, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this explosive conclusion. The only way to celebrate this community is to support it together.